Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views. Myself, Salailo Makudir, and we're going to be heading over to Bangladesh as they are preparing for the elections on the 12th of February this year. And there's been some serious concerns around press freedom and journalist safety. Those concerns are mounting, and human rights groups, including Article 19, have warned of heightened risks of harassment, physical attacks, digital intimidation, and arbitrary obstruction facing media workers, with a recent study finding that nearly 9 in 10 journalists in Bangladesh fear physical assault while covering the polls. Critics say existing election and security protocols offer insufficient protection, threatening the free flow of information crucial to democratic accountability. And joining us now to unpack these risks and the broader implication of free expression is human rights activist Rezaur Rahman Lenin. Brother Rezaur, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to News and Views. Really appreciate you giving us your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very glad to join with you guys.
No, the pleasure is all ours, and I want us to jump right into it. Reports and studies suggest that almost 89% of journalists in Bangladesh fear physical attacks and even intimidation while covering the elections. That's a really striking figure. In your assessment, what's the primary source of these threats? Where do they stem and come from? Brother Rezaur, are you there? All right. You seem to have muted your mic there. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Okay.
There
So
we
can
go.
you hear
Yes.
me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. So I'm not sure that was the source of this information, but or methodology, but it seems like they have a rigorous study. But it's apparently there is a mob violence, there is a political violence, and there is an extrajudicial killing. Not really enforces appearances, but there is intimidation of mob, and there is a huge pressure of the feelings of July and August movement in 2024. So the situation is volatile. Situation is really serious because before the election there is a usually political violence, and also there is also political violence, and also different forms of violence is usually very common. So I assume that that's the source of this uh, fear and the situation of Bangladesh now prior to election, and it will continue during the election. It will continue the post-election as well.
Let's talk about the elections themselves and how you analyze them turning out. Can you hear me, Brother Rezaur? Are you there? Hello, can you hear me? All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to try and get Brother Rezaur back on air, maybe phonically, and see if we can't fix the connection issues.
Zakah is more than just charity. It is a duty, a trust, and a means to uplift those in need. For over 40 years, Islamic Relief has only distributed zakah through policies that comply with Sharia guidelines, endorsed by qualified scholars, making sure it only reaches those who are eligible. Give with Islamic Relief, where your zakah is our amana.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidiri, and we're still taking a look at Bangladesh. They're preparing for the elections on the 12th of February this year, and there's been concerns around press freedom and journalist safety, and also just general violence around the election season. Human rights groups, including Article 19, have warned of heightened risks of harassment, physical attacks, and digital intimidation and arbitrary obstruction. And Brother Rezaur is joining us via our virtual platform. Brother Rezaur, thank you so much for staying with us. Really, really appreciate it. Before we lost you there for a moment, I just wanted your quick analysis on the elections themselves, because campaigning in Bangladesh has began a few weeks ago. I think it was last week. What do you make of it? Some of the major political parties held campaign rallies in Dakar ahead of the vote. What do you make of the election season, and what are some of the key points to look out for?
I think the most important thing is this for the interim government to actually control and have a better control on the political situation on the ground, because lots of political violence happening. There is a tension, even as you suggested, that 89% of journalists are afraid to even covering the election. So at this stage, I think the mob violence is another key to need to be looking into it. And there is a lots of misinformation and disinformation is going on around. So sometimes is the situation can be switched to a very volatile. So I think the three major political parties, NCP, which is a youth lead political party who actually quote unquote lead the movement last 2024 in July and August. There is an old Islamist political party called Jamati Islam. They are on the ground, and obviously there's a nationalist Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which is one of the two largest party, Jamati Islam and Bangladesh Nationalist Party is participating in the election. And obviously there is a question of inclusiveness. The party earlier, Sheikh Hasina's regime, who were involved with authoritarian rules for 17 years, so they are not participating into this election.
Mm, 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 mm.
And there is a
Yes.
referendum also, and yes and no vote, because of the interim government last 17 months. They did a lot of reform in a different sectors, and they are trying to come up with some July charter. And obviously, there is no legal validity of it, but at the same time, that is an important to politically speaking and ethically speaking, and obviously to uphold the spirit of July and August movement in 2024.
Mm, mm, mm. I want to come back on journalists and how they've been threatened in the build up to these elections. I've seen articles that there've been some major attacks on some major news outlets and journalists. How widespread is this practice and this climate of fear, and how does it affect how the public gets to engage with election season? Because anywhere else in the world, the media would be the primary source of engagement, of analysis when it comes to election season, but this seems to be not the norm in Bangladesh. How do you think this affects the integrity of the elections, and how the public interacts with them?
It's hard to say, but at the same time, the research is probably depending on one-to-one interview or some kind of survey, which is probably anonymous, because my understanding suggests that it's usually censorship is quite high, and people are censorship for self-censorship to. Or also some phone call related censorship, or even the friendship can create this situation of censorship,
Mm,
for self-censorship. So I think the self-censorship is a key challenge for the journalists, because I don't know really that the situation is that really bad, but obviously last December, after the killing of a youth leader, and there was a mob violence happened against two politically influential newspaper, that's called Daily Star, the Daily Star, and the Prothom, the Daily, and one is a Bengali one, and another one is an English one. So they were set on fire. Mobs actually set on fire. Some of the mobs are inside the jail now, but it's still the question who actually dared to do so, who actually lead those attacking to the newspapers offices. So that's a big question. So obviously, that's recent incidents also volatile and give the perception to the journalists and also as well as the citizens that obviously uh, journalists won't be really very independent and transparent into their own work because very heavy censorships is around.
Mm, mm. One issue that was also raised by rights groups is the lack of real accountability when these attacks happen. What do you think the election commission or government in itself needs to do to ensure so the perpetrators of these crimes face the consequences, and the political parties themselves also face some kind of retribution for these acts?
I think primarily election commission needs to take a control of over the information flow. Misinformation, disinformation, and distorted information rumors are widespread usually during the election periods. So they have to have a full control into it so that, and they have also need to have a manpower to solve the immediate real time response they need to do. This is one. And second thing, it's not about military, it's not about police force. It should be, they should apparently being presented to the people as a transparent and accountable to the people of Bangladesh. And in these two aspects, if they are careful, they probably have a better chance to have a free, fair, and credible election. But unfortunately, in my view, I think they probably lost the ground already because this current interim regime is actually advocating for yes vote, although there is a no vote system in the referendum. So when government is heavily, this is a neutral interim government, they cannot actually act like a political party government. So they already, I think, lost their neutrality and credibility. And on top of it, it's very hard for election commission to revive that transparency and accountability and inclusiveness into this election.
I think we're going to be there for now, brother. So thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure we'll catch up again as the elections in Bangladesh continue to unfold. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
There we go. And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and news and views continues after this.